you may have heard of the Nixon-Frost interviews, or perhaps you remember LeBron's nationally televised decision. But today we may surpass both of these epic interviews with what experts are already calling the most anticipated interview in Rockport history, our exclusive conversation with Rockport's former varsity basketball coach, Phil Whitley. Whoa. Welcome to the season 1 finale of the Wicked Redeemed podcast, where over 8 episodes we have sought to explore the intersection between the ancient Christian faith and our contemporary culture, all with a distinctly New England lens. I am Matt Wigton, joined once again by my co-host, Shayna Stoll.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today's episode promises to break the internet, or at least generate several enthusiastic Facebook comments from local parents and former basketball players alike. It has been such a fun journey, though, since we launched this podcast last fall, Matt. And if you've missed any episodes, we'd encourage you to go back and listen. Yep. We started in episode 1 by sharing our own stories of redemption. And since then, we've had conversations with educators, church leaders, public servants, and members of the local recovery community. Along the way, we have explored what faith, purpose, and community look like in our beautiful, quirky, fiercely independent corner of New England. And yes, today we are excited to welcome Phil Whitley. Does he get an applause?
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Applause for Phil.
Phil spent 14 years coaching basketball, mentoring countless students, and becoming a beloved community leader. And while he may not technically qualify as like a Rockport townie, he is a genuine New Englander, which means he is qualified to discuss weather, local sports, and Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
He even brought his iced coffee.
Absolutely.
That's legit right there.
He's homemade. Look, that's iced tea.
This is iced tea.
Yeah, it's got
I already had my
in it.
iced coffee.
Okay,
so
good.
We're fully caffeinated.
All right. Now, the careful listener may have noticed that this episode was originally supposed to take place in May. Unfortunately, a variety of scheduling conflicts delayed this recording until the day that we are recording this, which is June 6th. But this delay has given us something to celebrate, because this also happens to be Shayna's birthday. Shayna, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being alive. And thank you for letting us be part of your birthday, recording a podcast. We are grateful that you are alive, that you are our friend, and that you are part of our local church and podcast.
Hey, thanks. It's always been a dream of mine to spend the day, in front of a microphone on my birthday discussing church life and the sports. Honestly, though, birthdays feel a little different every year. When you're a kid, you count down for like months and days. And as an adult, it's just a reminder of, death. But I am thankful for another year.
That's the Puritan spirit. That's the Puritans, right? Dwell on their death, mortality.
Yep. Oh,
birthdays.
Yeah. But yeah, so Matt, if we're being completely honest, you mentioned the scheduling conflict. Mm-hmm. We should probably clarify that the biggest conflict is Matt himself.
That's true.
He disappeared for an alleged sabbatical, but somehow you just keep popping up.
Fair points, Shayna. Yeah. I have been incredibly fortunate to be on a sabbatical since April, an alleged one. And during that time, I have traveled with each member of my individual family to different locations around the country. And next week, we're going to conclude this experience with a whole family trip to the United Kingdom for about 2 weeks. It is awesome. And so we are deeply grateful for the grant that made this sabbatical possible, and for our church community who generously has supported us during this time. Now, this sabbatical wasn't simply about vacation. Much of the time has actually been spent visiting places that have been very significant to me in my own spiritual journey and vocational journey that has led to this point. For example, my daughter and I spent several days in New York City, and one of the things we did while we were there was that we stopped at the 9/11 memorial. And it was actually my first time visiting the memorial. I actually toured the carnage in early 2002. And as I shared in episode 1, that event took place my first week in college and was really formative in leading me into ministry. So it was very moving to be there with my daughter, very different atmosphere now. And on our first Sunday away, the whole family worshiped at the Cape Netick Baptist Church in Maine, which is where I served during seminary. And that was my first real experience doing ministry in New England. And it was really moving because a group of boys who were in the youth group that we led back then were actually leading the service when we visited. And that was the first time we'd actually been back to worship since we left there in 2008. And so those are just two examples of the many experiences that we've had over the last 2 months, opportunities to reflect and remember God's faithfulness and think about what he's taught me and my family and where we're going in the future. I've also had the opportunity during the time to listen to a lot of good podcasts. We shared how, for both of us, podcasts have been really developmental and encouraging in our own lives. So I've been encouraged by the podcast. And I think maybe we'll steal some ideas from some of the good podcasts that we've listened to.
Maybe.
Speaking of the sabbatical time, Shayna, you have been one of the key people helping to lead the church and keep it going while I have been away.
It's true.
How's that been?
Oh my gosh. Well, fortunately, we have an outstanding team. Honestly, we have staff members, deacons, volunteers, and everybody has stepped up and served so faithfully. We did do like months of planning though, but it's been encouraging to see how many people are using their gifts and how we're actually working together pretty well. But that being said, we have definitely missed you and your family. And in fact, the moment I realized like you were truly gone, I was making coffee in the office and the water ran out, and I've never replaced the water in it. And so it hit me like, oh no, Matt's gone. And then there are the church hedges.
Did you figure it out? Did you figure out?
Yeah. Okay. It made a really horrible sound, and I had to try it all over again. But it's fine. We probably need a new one. Anyway, Nespresso, hit us up, okay? But the church hedges are a nightmare. So for those of you who may not know, one of the lesser known duties of a real good New England pastor is occasionally battling aggressive shrubbery. So while you've been away, those hedges have grown with remarkable confidence and very little regard for church authority at all. So at this point, they would probably qualify for nonprofit status themselves.
This is one of the distinct aspects of church life that would be completely foreign to church listeners from outside of New England. And it is a bit concerning, Shayna, about what the hedges have done. So if they start voting at any congregational meetings while I'm gone, please call me immediately.
Okay. On a less thorny subject, we have covered a lot of ground in our first season, honestly. And we've learned how to produce a podcast on a shoestring budget, typical church fashion, and limited equipment. And I got to design a lot of bling, but...
We still got some leftover...
decal.
We should get one here. Let's give Phil a decal.
Phil,
Okay.
he gets more. He has like 1,000 kids. Give him all of them.
We'll give him one for each of his kids.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
But, yes, but so Matt, what are some of your highlights?
Yeah, Shayna, there's been a lot of highlights. I think if I had to narrow it down to about 4 of what I've learned over the last year. First is learning the art of being an interviewer. It's given me a lot more respect for the people that do this professionally. It is not easy because when you're asking somebody questions, you have to like actively try to listen to what they're saying, but also be thinking about where you're going, what the next question is, realizing that you have limited time and you have a place you're hoping to go. And we do this unedited. That's kind of the New England way. We want to be real and raw, but you got to be careful with that, and also practice brevity, which I'm not doing right now. So that's something I've learned. Appreciation for interviewing and listening. That art. Number 2 would be learning from the wisdom, the insight, and the incredible diversity of guests that we've had on our podcast. Of course, didn't agree with everybody in every occasion, but everybody had some really, really valuable insights, and I think challenged my own life, and I hope our listeners to consider the intersection, again, between faith and culture and the present time and location in which we all inhabit. Number 3, Shayna, I think just really appreciated the humor and candor of working with you. That's kind of what it was was an outflow of our office conversations
and Bible study.
And
so
Bible
you
study.
All should join our Wednesday Bible
starting
study.
September, and that at 9:30.
Yep.
But to be able to share that with others, to invite others in, to give a little picture more of what's going on in our own little community church, I think and I appreciate working
Definitely
with you.
fun.
Number 4 would be.
Hold on, you forgot.
What? I have a fourth one.
You forgot your clam soup, dude.
Oh yeah.
We'll never forget.
Who will forget my learning about clam soup? The difference between there is no such thing as clam soup. You got to go back to. It's
gross.
That's what I call clam chowder.
Chowder.
Oh, okay.
Shayna as the actual New Englander.
Disgusting. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
Who calls it clam soup?
This man here from the Middle West.
The middle Middle Earth.
The Middle West.
Midwest. Been out here 21 years now, but still learning. And so we talked about that back in episode 1.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
And you made it this far. That's impressive.
By God's grace,
Aye, aye, aye.
Wicked is being redeemed. And the final thing, I think it would just be hearing from our listeners that the people are actually being encouraged. We've had people binge listen to the podcast and appreciate the different things that we brought up. Yeah. So knowing that we are actually making an impact has I think made this experience worth it. So Shayna, what about you? What are some of your highlights?
Okay. First, a highlight for me was experience getting to work with pastors and brothers and sisters in Christ that I very much admire and look up to. So what you might not know is before we even started this, we had sort of a pilot episode, and we had a lot.
It was bad.
It wasn't. We have made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah. It's a positive spin.
It was really the first time that I've had that sort of input from pastors and sort of felt like an equal instead of being taught. So that was kind of neat for me, just in my own personal walk of faith. Second is the gift of testimony. Totally saved my life in many occasions, and the opportunity to amplify others is one that I don't want to miss. So I think that's a total gift. And also, it has been a blast to hang out with friends, old and new, and just to celebrate with them the ways that God has shown up in their lives and how they're glorifying Him because of that in simple, everyday ways, just like Jesus taught us. So those are some of my highlights.
Thank you, Shayna. Well, we look for more highlights to come in our season 2, which will premiere in September. We would love to hear from those of you that are listening what your highlights have been. Drop us a line and let us know perhaps ideas that you have for discussions, guests, things that we could delve into when we come back in September.
Yes, but the season is not done yet. The suspense has been building for weeks, maybe months, and we're finally ready for the interview with Phil Whitley.
Woo! One more round of applause.
Yeah. And here we go. Matt,
I need this in my classroom.
Yes,
some applause.
Oh, definitely.
That would be
could totally
pretty cool.
do that. We'll get you a clap
boy.
button.
They may abuse it though over time.
No, I get to control it though. Yeah.
Let's see
when my lesson goes well, I can give myself some applause.
There we go.
I don't have a background on you, Phil. Would you like to fill us in?
Well, we know a little bit. He's
You can give us his background.
father of 4.
Father of 4.
Father of 4.
From
Yeah.
Amesbury.
From Amesbury.
Okay.
Yep. And
You're a teacher.
been teaching and coaching for 24 years.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, crazy. Grew up in Amesbury, went to Gordon College, married a wonderful young lady from Gordon College.
She is wonderful.
She is wonderful. Started in Beverly. Lissa worked at Children's Hospital, so she took the train from Beverly. And then we intended to move to Ipswich, and God had other plans, and we ended up actually renting here in Rockport and moved here, bought a house, and glad we did when we bought it then, because we can't afford it now. But just what a neat community to be a part of. We were here for about probably 2 weeks renting, with no intention of moving here. Just this was going to be our stop, and I'd been teaching for a while here. And one night we were eating dinner, and we're like, "Hey, let's go to the beach." And got up and went to Front Beach, and we're like, "What a place this is! What magic is here?" So, yeah, it's been a pretty awesome journey. This will next Wednesday at 12 o'clock when we hand your children back to you. It'll wrap up my 17th year teaching here, fourth
Thank you for
grade.
your service.
So, yeah, it's been quite a ride.
Amazing.
I think I speak for the parent. If you still want to keep them some more,
You can.
Well, I have 4 of my own. Actually, 4 at home is more difficult sometimes than
We totally
20 in the classroom.
100%
So,
get that.
Well, thank you for joining us, Phil.
Yes,
we're
this is-
so glad to have
this
you.
is a
And I think you are, as we said, you are well respected in the community as a role as a teacher, as a father, not just the basketball coach. We've been involved in so many different things. But you are sort of our first sports-related guest that we've had on this show. And I grew up as a Big Ten basketball fan, and I've always thought that New England could use a little bit of some Midwestern flavor in its sports. And so, one of my coaching heroes growing up was Bobby Knight, a Big Ten legend, won many championships, but one of the things that he was legendary for was the time that he took a chair and he threw it. He threw it during a game. I think it was against Purdue, if I remember correct.
I believe you're correct.
And,
I know nothing about
a legendary moment. And just so right now, you are not beholden to any rules of any sports. Did you want to just throw a chair across our podcast studio? If you wanted to get out any anxiety or anger, is there?
We don't have a hoop though.
We don't have a hoop.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't work.
You don't want to throw the chair?
I'd probably break something
I
in here
appreciate
if I
you.
did.
Also, the stewards, thank you.
But if you ever want to throw a chair, we got a big space. It's kind of that's a good
Let
stress,
one rip.
stress
Wow.
relief.
Let one rip.
All right, Matt. This is Wicked Redeemed, not Wicked Recycled. I think Matt's sabbatical has affected his judgment.
Probably.
Phil, you're a New England native who hails from the town of Amesbury, which is beautiful. I have a lot of family up there. It's like north 45
Almost
minutes.
into New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's
right
like
there.
one town over.
Yep.
But it's gorgeous. So from your perspective, what makes New England distinct? Or as we like to say, what defines New England flavor?
Man, I tell you, I think the biggest thing and the biggest treat of living here is definitely the seasons and how distinct and dramatic they are in change. Being in a winter like we had this winter, and it's fun while it's snowing, and then you hit that point where it's like, we've had enough of this, but there's that hope and joy of knowing what's coming next with that change of seasons. I love fall, my favorite. Hoodie, jeans on, Patriots Sunday.
There you go.
You get kind of tired of this, even summer. I'll tell you, as a teacher, there's times like, okay, summer's good, let's move on. And I think definitely seasons of change really define what we are here, and just the hardiness. I mean, my gosh, the New Englander of, you get it done. You don't ask for help. You're on your death. Quick side note: my mom, this is New Englander. She's planning a party for Alyssa and I before we got married out here, because we got married in New York. She slips in the driveway, hits her head on the bumper of the car, knocks herself out. Comes to
the first Mrs. Whitley.
My mom.
Yep.
Comes to, doesn't tell anybody, gets in the car, drives to the church, and continues on setting up for the party.
That's awesome.
If that ain't New England,
what a great picture of New England right there.
Yes. But if that isn't New England, I don't know what is.
No, she's like, we're doing this.
There's no concussion protocols at weddings.
concussed.
No, there was no concussion protocol there. She could keep playing, and she did. Told us afterwards. Didn't even tell us when we got there, but that was pretty hardcore.
That is pretty hardcore.
That is. So if that ain't New England, I don't know what is.
That is a great picture.
It is.
She probably
Your
had
mom
a nice coffee too, and I bet it didn't
most
spill.
likely. Yeah. Definitely didn't spill.
Well, that's both of your teaching and sports are so much defined by the seasons as well. So it makes and it makes a lot of sense. But many do know you as your role both as a teacher and as a coach. So just you're kind of curious, like what led you to going into both of those professions?
Great question. So I was a big golfer as a kid. My grandfather started me golfing when I was 5. Was very successful at it, and the teaching pro at Amesbury would let me help him with the junior clinics as a kid. I was a teenager, and so I really just enjoyed teaching. My dad was a teacher at Triton, 7th grade. Whew, that's he loved it though. 33 years up there.
That's awesome.
It's a big
So I just enjoyed teaching and helping people get better at things. And I actually started at Penn State. I was going to be a teaching pro, and then decided that was not for me. Didn't want to be every weekend at a golf course, and they like you to travel around to build your resume, and I'm very loyal homebody type of thing. So I came home, and it was still the summer because I had to start in the summer with the golf program. My sister was at Gordon.
So did you do like a freshman, like 1 year at Penn State?
No, I was there for like a week.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
it was quick.
Yeah.
And there was only 4 schools at the time that had the program.
Yeah.
Certified by the PGA, and Penn State is huge.
Yeah.
I am not huge. Rockport is my bag as far as I'm not a big crowd person, but got into Gordon late. First class I took was an intro to ed, and I observed in a 4th grade classroom, and I was like, this is really cool. that age just clicks with me. I love it. And my first job was at Covenant Christian Academy, and they gave me my contract, and it said, "You're also the basketball coach." And I said, "Look at that, here we go." And we won our championship that year at the middle school.
Amazing.
Because I had great players. I thought I was a good coach. And yeah, here we are.
Awesome.
24 years later, and God has been faithful and just been an amazing journey. And that age of 10, 11 years old, I've done 5th grade for a year and said that was not my bag. Taught pre-K through 6 health and science for 6 years. Loved that, but wanted my own classroom, and just been blessed to be in 4th grade, doing it ever since. So,
Yeah, once again, amazing how those like key decisions that we make have affected the trajectory of your life.
And I mean, I play golf every day of my life
Yeah.
as a kid, and I play maybe once a year now.
Wow.
And I kind of miss it, but don't. You know,
Yeah.
God's put other things in my life to scratch that itch, and
Yep.
it's been an awesome journey.
And just a fun side note on that as well. The first time I actually met you was a long time ago when I started at the church. The first year I was like an intern here, and they didn't pay me, so I needed some money. So I substitute taught for Phil Whitley.
did?
And I think I think one of your kids was born. This is like 2008.
Must have been Sammy.
Yeah,
Probably.
and so you were out for a few weeks, and there was some basketball stuff. So small worlds. And who knew I would be interviewing you on a podcast years later?
Crazy.
17 years later.
Crazy.
18 years later. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Phil, we did have another elementary school teacher, Megan Shelton.
Yes.
Right, she was on the podcast on episode 3, and we talked about the many challenges.
Oh, we just gave her some round of applause.
Oh.
You don't have your headphones on. You didn't hear that.
Sorry.
Okay.
Megan! She's wonderful.
Episode 3.
She is. She's the
Episode 3,
best.
go
Yeah.
back and listen. But we talked to her about the many challenges facing educators today. What keeps you going in this challenging position where, you know, you're not in a Catholic school or Christian school, you're now in a public school? And
Yeah, it's funny because I taught for 6 years at Covenant in a Christian school, and I was a public school kid myself. Then went to Gordon, and every day when I go to work, you get that energy from the kids. Every year you get a different class of kids to work with. So I enjoy that challenge of seeing how your class grows over the year. And being in school is tough right now. You know, there's a lot with the screens that we're finding out now with research and things. And pro tip to parents: keep your kids off phones and screens as long as you can. We're seeing it. You see it as a teacher. You see it right in front of you every day.
It's so weird, like that we are the last generation who will remember life before screens.
Yeah,
it's a
and
wild
it's funny because I sound like the old fuddy-duddy in class telling my kids, but I'm like, kids, I didn't even have the internet when I was,
I know.
And,
we're from the 1900s. They remind me of that a lot.
Frightening. But it's so rewarding to work with a kid and, to see them again in high school. I ran into a student the other day that he had a tough time in elementary school, and I ran into him the other day and had the best conversation with him.
That's so
and
cool.
was just so pumped to see his growth and just him as a human. And you don't always see that growth when you're in the 4th grade classroom. It may not be years later.
Yeah.
So you don't always see the seeds that get planted. And there's times where the years are really hard and it's like, oh my gosh, but you know that you're in that situation as a teacher and that kid's in your room for a reason. And you work with them as best you can, and it's a real honor to do it. It's not easy work, you know. And Rockport's a great school system, and the parents are so supportive, and the town is so supportive. You say you're doing anything for the school, and they just bend over backwards to make it happen for you, which has been awesome. So it's really cool. But yeah, that's just daily. It's a real honor to do it. It's hard. I'll tell you. There's days where it's like, wow, this is a grind.
I could never.
But it's so rewarding on the back end of it as well. So,
I think listening to all the guests this season, that's one kind of theme there I see is just the big picture, right? Like in all of the different things in our lives where there's challenges, getting through each day, it's seeing the big picture, seeing these pictures of growth that kind of keep us going when times are tough.
Yeah.
When you want to throw in the towel.
Yep.
So with that said, and we mentioned at the open, you've recently concluded a 14-year career as you've coached in many different ways, but specifically in Rockport, you were well known as the varsity basketball coach. That's kind of been well publicized in our area, and that season has ended. And so what are maybe some key lessons that you have learned from that whole experience?
Sure. it's been an amazing couple months of transition and just thought for me. And I've always tried to be someone that like, what can I learn from this? As good or bad or messy. And, the beautiful thing about learning is, and the hard thing about learning is that the most growth and the most learning happens in the mess. And even as a basketball coach, you want your practices to look good. And the funny thing is that the learning happens when it's messy.
Right.
And, the same thing with my students of the hard is the learning, and to be able to get people to understand that when you can lean into that, and when you can deal with the losses, when you can deal with the bad grade, when you can deal with getting fired from a job or a move or a relationship ends, it's really messy. That's where the magic happens, and I think there's so many good books out there now about just growth and mindset by Carol Dweck's a phenomenal one. But, and obviously, like, I don't want to disregard any hurt or challenges or struggles. Like, the struggle's real, and I think that's the piece that a lot of kids don't understand either. Of it's been amazing to watch Josiah and his journey of basketball.
And that's your son.
He's my oldest. He just finished his freshman year at Gordon, and he's blessed to be able to play there. And I even remember as a kid thinking, like, people that are good at things were just natural, just happens. And obviously genetics play into things and whatnot, but the commitment and the grind that nobody sees, and the hard work that goes into it allows you to shine in those moments and things. And but also the failure that happens along the way. And that failure, if you allow it to shape you, like, that's the secret sauce right there. That's the secret sauce of not letting the failure define you and to push you away from what you're doing. I have the Teddy Roosevelt quote in my classroom of the man in the arena. And just talking about those, my favorite line is those cold souls that never get in the arena, and they can chirp from the stands and the sidelines and be the Monday morning quarterback. But until you're willing to get sweaty and bloody with me in the arena, you don't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. And it's hard because our society with social media today and everything allows everybody to have an opinion. And opinions are good. Opinions are valuable. But I think, too, we have to be careful. I think we have to be careful with the way that we are critical of others that are willing to get in the arena.
Right.
And I see churches are a great example. Youth sports are a great example of the amount of volunteering that goes into stuff and the amount of time teachers, pastors, anybody are amazing people in Rockport that serve on our board of selectmen. And you're willing to put yourself out there and step into the arena, and you're going to get pummeled, right? You're going to get beat down, and it's hard because you put your heart and soul into it, and you're trying to serve the way you can, and there's times where it just doesn't go the way that you wished it did, and but to lean into that and learn, I think, has been so valuable. And another piece that I think I've learned a lot of as a dad of 4 kids, and my wife for 24 years has held the fort down every winter. And to look back on it, and this may sound funny, but I think looking at it, I put a lot of time into it that maybe I shouldn't have. And it's easy to chase things that at the time, and coaching's hard because what do we get judged on? A scoreboard.
Wins, right.
Wins. And as a male, as a head of the household, as the breadwinner, you're doing these things and you want to do them well, and it's hard because teaching and coaching, just like being a pastor, I'm assuming too, there's no clocking out. And I one thing I wish parents would understand is the amount of time that your coach goes home and does stuff. I got paid a decent stipend, but it came out to like negative $400 an hour with the amount of time I put into it. And teaching too, I could stay there every night till 11 o'clock at night. There's just no end to it. You can always do better, you know?
When in a small town, you're always on the clock.
Yeah.
Right? Because you go to the dump at 7 a.m. and somebody probably wants to come up to you and talk about
a
basketball.
Cool conversation. Yeah.
Matt's
And
a pastor 24/7.
You are.
And you're
Absolutely.
a coach 24/7.
Absolutely. And it's a passion of mine, and it's something that, you know, especially with the amazing stuff we have and resources online, you can always learn something new, whether it's leadership, whether it's team building, whether it's plays, you know, and I think if I was able to sit myself down as a young dad, I would have said, hey, Phil, listen, you get a half hour a night to devote to basketball, then shut it down. Because in the end, it doesn't matter, you know, and one of the themes that I really tried to push onto my basketball players later in my career is win your dinner table.
Right.
You know, none of this matters. Cape Ann League championships, state titles, wins, your bank account, your job title. Win your dinner table.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, that's success. When your children who are your legacy go on and be great people, when your marriage is good because you're putting the time into it and you're doing things that really matter. And there's so much noise in the world. Like, that's the hard part. And with social media, again, it's easy to get wrapped into it of how am I doing. And we had such a great run a couple of years ago with basketball, and it feels good. You know, I won Coach of the Year, and it's pretty hilarious because I actually found the plaque for it the other day in a pile of stuff.
It's a good reminder.
It is. No, it really is.
God's like,
Shayna,
don't forget. Don't forget, Phil. Don't forget.
But at the same time, you know, as a coach here, you know, and I came from Gordon as an assistant, and you want to make an impression. And I remember sitting in our interview with Steve Rowell when I was being interviewed for the job, and Steve's a legend. His name's on the court, you know, Hall of Fame at URI. And he said to me, he goes, how do you feel about losing?
Good question.
And I was like, you know, I kind of laughed. He goes, because you're going to lose a lot here.
Yeah, it's Rockport.
And of course I laughed thinking like, well, no, I'm not, you know, you just wait. And I think I spent a lot of time, you know, wrestling with what is success here in Rockport and trying to win and trying to find that magic bullet. And, you know, it was good because I knew that a big part of my job was mentoring young men.
Yeah.
You know, and winning's fun. Winning feels really good. But there's a lot of lessons that don't get taught when you win. There's a lot more that get taught when you lose. And I tell you what, the kids in Rockport, the way that they, this may sound really funny, but the way that they persevere a lot of the seasons through hard times, because we're playing really big schools, like huge.
I know.
You know, we played Newburyport and they have like 800 boys.
Yeah.
You know,
we have like 12.
We beat them twice, though. I'll tell you that. That was fun.
job.
But the perseverance and the understanding of grinding something out to conclusion and doing it with your whole heart from start to finish, that lesson for them in their life is more valuable than a state title 100%. That they could ever win somewhere. And it's really cool to see just the hard work they put in and the amount that the coaches put in here in Rockport, knowing that, you know, it's a really hard place to win, you know,
Right.
and unfortunately that's what you get judged on a lot.
Right.
But it's been an amazing journey for me of just learning and stepping back as someone to do it for 24 years and to say, hey, it sounds funny, but you gotta balance, you know,
Right.
your life and your time and things. And our pastor at our church always talks, I can't remember the title of the book, but you might know it. It's about this guy and his journey in life, and there's two mountains with your life. And the first mountain is you're climbing that mountain and you're looking for prestige and legacy and money. And then you get to the top of that mountain and you're like, ew. Well, it's like that Coach of the Year award. Well, there it is. It's a piece of wood.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second,
Canoeing the mountains. I think that's the name of the book. I think it's the book.
And then the second mountain is climbing that mountain of what really matters.
Right.
And finding his faith and that faith journey of like, actually, no, that's the mountain that I need to climb,
Right.
you know, and that's such a beautiful thing to look at. And when you're young and you're in your 20s and your 30s, you're in that race. You're in that race of trying to find significance and trying to feel good about what you're doing and find that value in whatever job you're in. But to be able to step back and say like, wow, that's not really the goal of whatever job you're doing.
Yeah.
But within that job, how can I honor God and how can I bring light to what I'm doing? So just some awesome lessons. And one of the things I don't want to let this go by. This Greg Wilkinson, who's just a legend at BC as a sailing coach, lives in town. During Little League one year, I can't remember when it was, our boys were on the same team, and Greg and I connected as humans. And Greg has a side job where he actually mentors like big leaders, Fortune 500 people and whatnot.
When he coached on the U.S. Olympic team. Correct?
Yes, yeah. And he is just an incredible coach. And he said to me one day, he's like, would you mind if I mentored you? Because it would be really good for me to just be able to. And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
No way.
Yeah.
So over the years, he has just dropped these nuggets of insight to me that are just like, wow. And he said to me one day, and this is after I stopped coaching, but as a dad and as a teacher, and anybody who hears this is like worth all the knowledge that I could ever give anybody. He said, Phil, and it was funny because he was talking to me, and then all of a sudden, and this has happened a lot of times when in our conversations, it hit him of like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing to my sailor. And that's why he found it valuable working with me, because it actually helped him. But he said to me, he said, Phil, you cannot coach and or teach and analyze at the same time. And I thought of that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Because if you are let's say it's your child.
Right.
If your child does something that drives you insane.
Yeah.
And all you do is every time you see it, like, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. And you can't teach them when you're in that emotional state of analyzing them. But if, say it's laundry on the floor, take something.
How did you know?
Oh, no, trust me.
How did you know?
Trust me. If you see that laundry on the floor every time and you just go into that mode of analyzing, oh, they did it again, that you can't teach them in that moment. But if you see it and you say, hey, Josiah, when you throw that on the floor, would you mind just putting in the thing? It helps mom and dad a lot. That's teaching. And I can't do it in the classroom. I can't do it on the basketball court. If I let that emotion of analyzing get in the way, or you just see a person in your life that is a cactus and rubs you the wrong way, and you avoid the conversation too, you know, how valuable it is that I've learned of, like, you've got to embrace those conversations. They're hard, they're messy, but if you don't, all you do is analyze. Like, oh, there he is again. He's doing that again. He's jogging down the court. He should be running. You know, and it's funny because I look back over the years and I know that the hardest times I've had with players is because I was analyzing and not teaching. And the cool thing is I've got 12 more years to teach and be a dad and a grandfather and maybe get into coaching again. And like, what a nugget of knowledge that is.
That's crazy.
So that was really cool. But at the same time, like, is that not Jesus or what?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, he's not up there, no, there's Phil
them.
again. It's, how do I teach Phil? How do I teach Phil? And you can't do both. And I thought that was such an impactful thing for him to tell me.
That is beautiful.
24 years ago, that would have been awesome to
A little
hear.
bit more helpful.
But awesome, too, at the same time of like, hey, and again, that's the journey. That's the redeemed and the growth that happens. So
I think, you know, this is one of the beautiful things about sports, and this is really the Apostle Paul mentions this as well, is like the way it is such a great picture of endurance and training and learning through difficulty.
Sure.
Right. And like and it really does develop character. So whether or not you're into sports or not, you know, Shayna's
I'm supportive.
Sporting.
I just don't know about them.
Yeah, she's learning
the sports.
But like you have to persevere, and you only get better by enduring the hardship.
Yeah.
And especially today, that is such a countercultural message where we are doing everything that we can. Many of our systems are just built to make things easy. And we're taught to flee suffering. It's all about being safe and the easiest path. And there was a great interview that we'll link in the podcast that you listened to as well between Ross Juthet and Ben Sass.
Phenomenal.
Incredible. Actually, he's had a few different interviews.
No idea who those guys are.
Oh, phenomenal.
He's a former senator who's dying of cancer.
Sass.
Ben Sass, but one of the incredible interview. But the point I wanted to get at was he talked about, you know, in the coming age of AI. Right, AI can do a lot for us, but it cannot develop our character. It cannot teach us how to persevere, how to make decisions, how to resist the flesh, to not do things when we want to do them. And I think what's interesting to me is like you know all this stuff. You've been a coach, but you're having to, like, right now actually coach yourself, like to tell yourself during this time of transition,
Sure.
the things you've been teaching others.
Sure.
And I don't know about you, but like I'm kind of experienced the same thing in my sabbatical where it's like a break, and it's sometimes easier to be out there than like actually coaching yourself.
Sure.
It's saying like, I got to persevere right now.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that a little bit?
Well, and it's funny of like, thinking back to the screens, and I'm not good on my phone, I'll admit it, but I can't call my kid out to put his phone down when I've got mine in my face.
Yep.
And the value of also too, and this is right with your podcast name, the value of saying, hey, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yep, I was wrong.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what? The way I spoke to you, as a parent, especially, oh my gosh, as a leader. And I think it's scary as a parent and a leader to let your guard down and say, hey guys, I don't know what the right answer is. That's frightening. But man, is that magic too. That's where the magic happens, when you lean into that piece of being able to say, hey, Josiah, the way I spoke to you was really not okay for a dad to, it's funny, I can get upset, and I one day I was talking to Evie and I said, hon, I'm really sorry the way I spoke to you like that. She goes, oh, it's okay. And I said, no, it's not. Because I also know the way my two girls, and the way that I respond to them, they're going to learn that that's okay or not okay for their own spouses and things. And man, as you guys know, children lay out all of your faults as a parent. They bring it to the surface though, but also too, that's our chance to learn and to lean in, and to have grace with yourself. And the idea of, when I make a mistake in my classroom, I think it's so important for the kids to see me. And, if I screw up a math problem or something, I love it, because it's like, I try to create the culture in my room that mistakes, we don't make it a big deal.
Right.
We learn from it. We don't laugh. We don't like, ooh, because I tell them flat out, I said, because if you laugh, no one's ever going to want to answer a question in this classroom again, right?
Yeah.
So let's create a place where people can be themselves and take risks.
Yeah.
And again, that's where the learning happens, when you're in that environment, to do that and to be able to fall on your face, and be lifted up by the person instead of laughed at. And again, that social media piece is so hard, because we love to beat people down in our culture.
Well, it makes we've been taught that actually does make us better.
Yes.
Which is
for a
not
small moment in
right.
time.
Yeah. So we have some rewiring to do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But good stuff.
You are so full of nuggets, man. All right. So what have been some of your key highlights in your coaching career? Like, what are your
I'll tell you, one year, we literally didn't win a game. Yeah, you can laugh. Please do.
I'm not surprised at all.
Please do.
It was probably like 5 years in a row.
We were 0-18.
Wow.
And the coolest thing about
Coach Roll was
that,
right. He said, get
he
used to
was
losing.
right. Yeah. The funny thing about that year is it was one of the most rewarding years for me to see the team that I had compete just as hard the first practice as they did the last practice. And, to me, I knew that, hey, you did a good job, Phil, and for the kids to, continue to check in with me to this day, and to see them in town, and to be able to wish them happy birthday, and again, my mindset had to change early on here of not, obviously as a coach, you care about winning. There's no way you can't.
Right.
I mean, there
It's
really
like part
isn't.
of the job.
And you do everything you can to give your team the advantage to do that, whether it's watching film, just trying to come up with a new play, all that good stuff. But to see that team was really rewarding, and for my own two boys, Josiah's just finished his freshman year at Gordon, Sammy's finishing up his sophomore year at Rockport here, but to be along for their ride in the journey with their friends, because both of them played travel basketball since third grade, and for me to be able to be a part of helping with those teams, and then coaching Josiah and seeing his accomplishments, and the cool thing, and I wish that parents and I have the luxury of being able to go through the journey and to be coaching for so long and be able to coach my kids and be in the arena of coaching. And youth sports is off the rails. It's out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dick's Sporting Goods sold like $18 billion in youth sporting equipment alone.
Only for Sunday mornings.
Correct. And it's hard because it's crazy. That journey of just give your kid the sport. Mm-hmm. My dad didn't play golf, so golf was on me if I wanted to be good at it. And anything, if your kid doesn't love it and have a passion for it, they're not going to hit their ceiling.
Right.
And it's hard to see so much of the competition in youth sports and the, travel everything and going everywhere. And it's like, just, do they love it? Are they a great teammate? Are they getting exercise? Mm-hmm. Are they learning valuable lessons? I wish we could go back to that.
Like, keep it simple.
Keep it simple, yeah. And the amount of family time that gets destroyed because of it is hard. And again, I have the luxury of being in the world of it and was able to navigate it and do a somewhat decent job of it, I think, as a parent. And Lissa was really good at keeping me aligned as well, of like, hey, listen, let's keep it, within reason here. And but it's kind of like the race to nowhere, because the percentages of kids going to college, if you want a scholarship, go to the library.
Right.
Go to the library, you're much better chance of getting that scholarship. And there's so many awesome things that can be learned with sports. And sports are awesome. They're important.
I take your word for it.
But sporting. But if those lessons aren't learned or their opportunities missed, that's the hard part.
Well, you're not getting there's not a lot of opportunities for kids to learn those. Like, you have to learn how to lose well.
Yeah.
Where do you learn that otherwise?
Well, and also to be in community. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Again, which I think is lost on that, because it's one of the few opportunities outside of the classroom now where you're not on a screen, right? And so just anything where kids can be together, learn how to relate to one another, is really a foreign thing. Growing.
We've come so weirdly far.
So, so a lot. I mean, that could be a whole other podcast, just the topic of youth sport, where we've come from, where we're going. I think we're going to see some big changes down the road, but you're just one little vantage point in a much bigger discussion. But with regard to you, and you kind of already hinted on this a little bit, if you could go back, any other regrets, if you could do anything differently, I guess we mentioned 14 years, but your whole coaching career as well. Yeah, it's funny because from the outset of coaching, one of my biggest reasons for doing it was the mentoring part. And I feel like I did that really well. For me, that was something that being able to connect with kids and the joy of seeing them later on as men. But also the cool thing that I had in Rockport was to be able to teach them at 10 years old and then see them come back as a player and get to play for me, and then go on to be a young man in college and in their journey. And again, I think just the piece of the time, it's a really not, maybe it is ego driven. I mean, I can't tell you the feeling of winning a game on a Friday night. This sounds crazy. Winning a game on a Friday night, that bus ride home, or it's a home game, and the next morning you're at Brothers Brew. Hey, coach, great win. Man,
awesome.
That's a drug, though.
It's a big high.
It's a drug.
Yeah.
Man, does that feel good. And I tell you what, even in Rockport, especially because you're the underdog.
Yeah.
And man, it felt so good to be able to, in a sense, prove, hey, I can do it.
Right.
We did it.
We did,
You're known. You're
known.
Somebody. Yep.
Yeah. And I think, it's so funny because you see that piece of being known. That's a great line, Matt. Thank you for saying that, because that's a piece that, for me, somebody said to me the other day, they're like, you are Rockport basketball. I took over the youth program, I think 15 years ago. I was working for the rec department, and the rec department closed, and the town said, Phil, could you take over youth basketball? So we created a nonprofit and been doing it ever since. And that's where I was every Saturday morning in the wintertime, was and to me, it was building my feeder program and just wanted the love of basketball in Rockport. And to see the kids growing along the way and being able to meet so many parents and connect with them was a real joy. And I plan to continue to do that. I'm still president of youth basketball and whatever role I can play in that, for sure. But yeah, to be able to understand, like, hey, that win feels good, but let's keep this in perspective. Let's make sure that, I mean, and it's hard, you go home from a game and you're watching film for the next game, and your wife's like, hey, Phil, and
I'm still here, honey. Hello.
And Duke's on the TV, and the Celtics are playing, and this and the that, and
there's laundry on the floor.
There's laundry on the floor. Yeah,
that's staying.
Yeah, but it's and again, when you're in it, and literally, I haven't had a winter off, so I'm actually really excited to be just home and to be.
I bet your family is. Are they excited to see you?
We'll see. That's still out for debate. But to be able to, be a part of the girls, because Lydia and Evelyn love playing, and obviously Josiah's playing at Gordon, to be a part of watching his games, and cool. Sammy's playing, so I'll watch him play, and just being more available, and to understand. I was talking to a friend who's a coach in the Cape Ann League. I won't say his name, but he's a wonderful guy. But we were talking the other day of just the badge of busyness and how we use that sometimes, I think, and I'll admit in my own life, to not have to deal with other things.
Heck yeah.
The time I'm excited to date my wife again. It sounds funny, but
that's so cute.
But to work on your marriage, and there's every winter, and then at summer league, you got, it just, so that badge of busyness. And I think when you're in it, you don't realize it. And it's dangerous, because you can just, obviously 4 kids, and that was our choice, and we love them all, but you're going, and, it's real easy to set aside those hard conversations with your spouse that you need to have, and the things that aren't going well, we'll just kick it down the road and deal with it later. And so I'm excited in a sense of, there's a real feeling for me that God has put on the brakes for a reason. Obviously this is God's plan. This isn't mine. It's his, and to be able to lean into that again, if we're talking about learning and uncomfortable, here it is. Like, what do you have for me? And it was so funny because I think my first instinct was like, well, what's next? What are we doing? What can I fill my time with? And I want to be real careful with that at this winter, especially, of making sure, and it's going to be hard. I mean, I got to be real honest. It's going to be real hard. To not fill my time, but also to try to figure out where my value is, and it's, that's an important journey for me, which I'm excited for and a little worried about, and you hear all the time those stories of people that retire and then, 2 weeks later they're depressed and don't know what the heck to do with themselves, and it's like, where's my value coming from? And it's Jesus, and making sure that it's there. So good stuff. Yeah, it's hard. And I've gone, these last couple of months have been hard. They've had their ups and downs and their journeys, but so enlightening for me. And I know that the journey continues on that, like, what can I learn from this, and how can I be better at what I do? And if I do get into coaching again, how can I do it differently?
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. I just want to say, sorry to interrupt again.
Second time.
You have so many good points. But I just want to comment that I've in my sabbatical period, I resonate with several of the things that you've just said. Being actually scared of retirement. It's a scary idea.
Time is a gift, guys.
But it is a gift, but also so is the biblical wisdom of Sabbath, right? Of not just like a literal every 7 days, but the concept of taking breaks. Like, it's not that we need that, and it's hard, but that hard break is actually good for our own well-being, our families, and our community. So you're kind of in that own period in this time.
Well, you need to lean in to God. That's the whole sabbatical, is spending time with the Lord and reflecting on, his gifts to you.
That's right.
Okay, so back to coaching.
Yeah.
You got plans? Do we get to break the news here?
Taking my talents to South Beach. You have no idea what that means.
So tan. No, I don't know
Phil's
what
decision.
that means at all.
That
Go
was-
to sports.
that was-
See, I don't like sports because I'm watching
Yeah.
another lady's kid lose, and that makes me sad. And I want to go out and comfort
You're
them.
so just like my wife.
That's why
She
I
doesn't want
can't
anybody
do
to
it.
lose.
Someone's losing.
He's not going to the Lakers, I guess.
Not going to the Lakers. Right now, I'm going to Pigeon Cove. That's where I'm going. Yeah. So, what was the question
Are
again?
you getting back into it? Are we coaching again?
You know what? It's funny because
Well, you're still coaching. You said you're nonprofit.
yeah, I'll still
Keeping
run youth basketball
Yeah.
and have my hand in that, and with my 4 kids, and I don't want to right now.
Yeah.
Unless the right position came up, and but I really, I want to process the journey that I've been on for 24 years of how I need to do it better as a dad and a husband. And seeing it's so funny, and I love my wife because she's so just good at being in reality and telling me what I need to hear, but I don't listen all the time. She would say to me, "Oh, Josiah's got 4 summers left, 3 summers left," and in my mind, it's like, yeah, whatever. It's a lot of time. But my little buddy's got 3 summers left at college, and Lydia's 10, and it's like, oh, she's got a ton of time. It's like, no, and being the word intentional is wow. And again, that's another thing that I wish Phil had sat me down, young Phil, and said, be intentional with your kids. Every single thing you do.
I think every parent
Be intentional.
wishes that we.
Sure.
I mean.
Yeah, and we can beat ourselves up all we want.
Right.
We all don't do it the right way. In time, you look back and wish you had done it differently. But, and again, I think this is another thing where God said, listen, bud, you've been doing this a long time. Your kids deserve more of you.
Yeah.
Your wife does. And that's awesome. Like, I'm excited for that. Lydia and I just had a little daddy-daughter date yesterday, and I'm like her walking ATM, apparently.
Yep.
We had a little Chipotle, a little
Starbucks.
Lasitos gelato, a little plug for them. And just, it's going to be good for me to slow down.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my value at times came from the busyness, from the being coach that feels good, and being Pastor Matt,
right?
That title we carry with it as, and it's funny though too of like how quickly it's a title. It's not us,
Right.
and that's the tricky part that we can get into.
Again, this reminds me so much of the
job
Ben
and a
Sass
title.
interview
Yeah.
where he's talking about considering the title of dad versus senator. And at the end of the day, when you're faced with the prospect of living a few months left in your life, what really matters?
Yeah. And for me, I think it's a blessing of being able to like kind of not 2x4 upside the head, but like, hey buddy, you've been putting a lot of time into other things. You've been a good dad and husband. But here's a gift. That gift of time is such a valuable gift. So I'm excited for that. And I want to be careful that I don't jump into things, into something else. But just make sure my gift, and if it is coaching, it'll be with my girls and helping them along and volunteering when I can. But just trying to be better balanced is important to me right now.
So in shifting towards your faith and your intentionality, in addition to all the aspects of your life that you've been public with your faith. So what's been the background behind your faith journey, and what is your faith story? Everybody knows, like you're a Christian, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But tell us how you got there.
No, I was lucky to grow up in a Christian home. My grandfather was a pastor.
Oh wow.
My step grandfather.
Cool.
In
and we actually,
Cool. Well, he was at Byfield Parish.
All right.
Yep. With Bill Boylan.
Oh, with Bill Boylan.
Yes,
Okay.
he was the
legendary
Bill,
pastor. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I caddied a lot, and saw Bill Boylan play a lot of golf.
He's been an inspiration for my work here at the church for many other pastors.
Bill's an incredible guy.
Yeah.
But and grew up going to church, and as a 14-year-old gave my life to Christ, and just been on that journey ever since. And it's been great to be able to teach at a Christian school, but also be able to be in the public school. And something that's really important to me, and this might sound crazy, but I think you'd actually agree with this, Matt, of like, my feeling is that if you're a teacher, the students in that room should never know what faith you are or what what you're voting on
Your
the ballots,
political-
my
yes.
political view.
Yeah.
But I hope that they know that the way that I treat them and care about them, I hope that shines through. And that's always been something important for me. And I would never want another teacher to bring their own ideas into the classroom. That's not my job.
Right.
You know, and I really hold tight to that as a value, but I hope that my people I work with and my students feel something different about Mr. Whitley. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's important to me. And even right now, I talked to you, Matt, before this, of just the decisions I make and the way that I handle my transition is important.
Absolutely.
And it's real easy to have feelings and frustrations and things, but to understand that it's God's plan, not mine, and His is better than mine.
Amen.
In this season. So.
And you also have all of the eyes of all of those young men on you, watching to see how's he going to react to this.
Sure. And my own kids.
Right.
My own children.
So it's
absolutely. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure and just hats off to you because you're doing incredibly well. You really are. You're doing this with like full dignity and grace, and all of us are watching. So well done.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, this reminds me of some previous discussions we've had with a previous educator, Megan Shelton, in Gloucester Schools, and then even Paul Murphy, who's the chair of our selectmen in town, just talking about like sort of the different roles, both of the state and the school. They have very specific and important roles, and the church has a different role. We can kind of all work together in some shared objectives in our community, but one of the specific roles of a local church is to help us consider those big moral questions that that is not the role of the school or the government, and so and other faiths attempt to do that as well. But what as you listen to the kids you're working with or the adults, the youth, what do you think are some of the big questions that people are wrestling with now that maybe the church can help address? Maybe some changes as well that you've seen, maybe different questions people are wrestling with, as you've been at this now for a while.
It's funny because that's a great question, but I think not so much in front of me in fourth grade type of thing, but seeing Josiah's generation. He's just turned 19, and he's a young freshman, but that early 20-year-old generation, I think they're just dying for the truth. I think social media, I wish it would just go away, but I think I always thought it was funny when you're a kid and you grow up and you realize that so many people don't tell the truth. Leaders in a lot of different facets, like, man, they just lie.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I always have this sense of injustice of like when somebody does something wrong, they should be taken to task for it. But I think there's just a real sense of, obviously the political world is just a mess right now, and our country's, even though we're in like so many wonderful things here, there's a lot of just frustration and things with people. And I really think amazing revival at like Ohio State and things going on there, but I really think they're tired of the silliness. They're tired of the older people just yelling at each other and pointing fingers. And they want truth. They want a reason for what we do every day instead of just chasing money or a title or whatever it is. And I think that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
And to figure out that, like, hey, there actually is something, there is truth there that I can seek and find it. And that's valuable. So yeah, I think that just truth piece and it's hard because like when you don't have a moral compass, and I talk to my basketball players about this all the time, like have a moral compass. I don't care what, maybe different for everybody. But when you wake up in the morning, when you go to a party, when you've got a tough choice to make, the choice has to be made before that. Like you have to live your life in a way that you know what you want out of your life, and to make some hard choices sometimes to say no, to say I don't want to do that, to not be a part of that. And for young boys and girls, that's hard. They're in the thick of it. They're in the weeds. And I was thankful that I could be a voice for them in those weeds, and try to give them an understanding too of like it's okay to not do that stuff.
Right.
You know, you don't have to do what they're doing, and it's okay. It's hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard. But yeah, I think they're seeking truth big time. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. So for the older listeners, because most of our listeners are not 19 yet, we're cool. I swear.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had a 30-second huddle timeout with our listeners for the game of life, what would be your pep talk? No pressure at all.
No.
John 3:16. Just kidding.
That's right. That's right. I would say a couple things. One, I already said it. Win that dinner table.
Yeah.
You know, that's your trophy. Two, understand that our time is so limited and how valuable it is. That's your currency. That time piece. And the third piece, we discussed it already, is when you get in that arena, you're going to get beat up. But go into it. Put yourself there.
Yeah.
Because you can't, this is Brene Brown stuff to a T. I'm a big Brene Brown fan. But if you can't put yourself in that arena, life's pretty shallow. As far as and there is nobody who is successful, as we know, without those bumps and bruises. And the hardest thing too is that, you know, the fear of trying to please everybody just isn't going to work.
It's crippling.
It's crippling. And to be able to be true to yourself, be true to your values, and to be able to go in there knowing that not everybody's going to like you and agree with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're doing it for the reason and your convictions that you did it for. So I think those, and man, if you could harness that up again and just download it in their little brains before that frontal lobe develops. For the boys especially. But it's hard because you see, you know, everybody in fourth grade wants to be a YouTuber. You know, they want to be an influencer.
Like and subscribe.
It's
so weird. Why do they just say that when they are playing with their friends?
I know.
It's weird.
Isn't it crazy?
I don't like it.
But it's hard because you sit there as an adult.
I know, and I'm liking and subscribing.
Yeah.
I know.
But on the backside,
To our
you also
podcast.
see...
Please like and subscribe to our podcast right now.
Like and
We can
subscribe.
redeem.
We'll send you a sticker.
See, I'm the problem.
Yeah, but no, it's like, but we also understand on the backside, I don't want to sound like I got one foot in the grave, but on the backside of how hollow that can be.
Yeah.
Right.
But also too, like the cool stuff like this that you're doing and the value that is brought there and like the stuff that you put in that noggin. I sound like my mom. Garbage in, garbage out.
Your mom sounds like a baddie because she fell with concussion and then
Perseveres
celebrated
in the
you.
arena.
With her ice,
The wedding arena.
Probably. Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
Good,
Phil, this has been a great discussion.
It's been awesome.
And the time has flown by.
I know.
And we will certainly have to have you back. That whole conversation about youth sports is so interesting to me.
It is.
And then specifically, like when we look at the niche of New England versus the rest of the country, because what people in New England don't actually realize, at least from my opinion from Ohio, it's far worse than the rest of the country.
Agreed.
Like we are way mild in terms of our sports obsession.
Also, guys, you're not all gonna be rich and famous. Like, come on.
So New England's actually, it's a huge issue here, but it's way more actually temperate than other parts of the country.
I agree.
But there's so much involved there.
Absolutely.
We'll have to do that in season 2. So, Phil, the final question that we ask all of our guests is this, which is, who are maybe 4 of the 5 people who you would say have most shaped your life?
Ooh, awesome question.
Because you talked about mentorship as a big thing to you. So, somebody's impacted you.
To follow up on a question that you asked about things that I'd learned from coaching, get a mentor. Incredibly important in any job you're doing. Matt, I'm sure you can attest to that. Be humble enough to know that you don't know it all.
Yeah.
So Greg Wilkinson, definitely a huge part of my journey. And just allowing me to see and learn from him. Certainly my grandfather as a pastor and seeing him lead and do things well. My 4th grade teacher, incredible teacher, really, I would say inspired me to want to be a teacher. She was a softball coach and just a neat lady. The mom and dad, obviously, dad was a teacher, and the best part about them is they're human. They make mistakes. They have their faults, but they just continue to love each other and love my sister and I as best they can. It's that kind of story of you know what you know as a parent and as a mom and dad, and you try your best. And there's no right or wrong. I think a lot of times they're so kind of caught on doing it right, and I don't think there is a right. It's you do the best that you can with the cards that you're handed.
That's right.
And you learn from it and you grow from it. Those are really important people for me, and just all the people, the principals I've had along the way, and the people that I work with. Being willing to learn from them and guiding you, and education's a funny thing because it's always changing, and the kids that are in front of us are always changing. Just it's funny because we get the culture right in front of us.
Right.
The new, the lingo and the fidget spinners and the squishies and the bottle flipping and all that stuff.
It's this now.
I don't even know
This is
what
what
we're
my
doing.
kids do now.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one.
they take I don't
With
even
their
girl-
hand. It's
must
like
be-
a clap.
must be
It's
girls.
like a cool clap.
Yeah, and clock it, and there's all
Clocking.
these...
It's called clock it.
Yeah. Matt, I can't even.
I don't
Matt,
get it.
I don't.
I'm behind on that one.
Hey,
Next week, Matt's going to be clocking it.
I
Just
probably-
wait.
yeah. Next
all I'm
podcast.
glad to say is there's no more 6-7.
Well, this
No more?
Sunday is 6/7 tomorrow.
But it's
I can't
dead.
wait.
It's dead?
All of a sudden, it's
Just wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, it's back.
It's June 7th tomorrow. So.
At least I'm not in my classroom putting it on the board.
Oh, Phil, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, this has been great.
And your insight on today's edition of the Wicked Redeemed podcast. We appreciate your honesty and experience and all of your insight that has helped us to consider the intersection of the historic Christian faith with the present culture, all with a New England flavor.
To all our listeners, thanks for tuning in to this episode and all of season 1 on Wicked Redeemed. It's been a really fun ride, and we are so thankful for all the people who have helped us behind the scenes, for our incredible guests, and for our growing audience. Thank you. We hope you join us for season 2 when we return in September.
On behalf of Matt and our team here, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wicked Redeemed podcast, where we definitely brought the wicked, but God brought the grace. Until next time, see you, bye.
Bye. All right, that's a wrap. Good job.